head to jlgb.org/Yoni hours to start working towards your Yoni 20 by adding those acts of kindness. So many of you may have seen advertised that fitness guru Jenny Westwood would be joining us this evening. Unfortunately, Jenny could not join us tonight, but will be with us in the next few weeks and sends her apologies. But as it's Yoni Jesner week, we thought who better as a replacement than to hear from Marsha and the Yoni Jesner Foundation, who were our guests in our very first week 17 weeks ago. And so at very short notice, which we're very grateful for, our very good friends, Marsha Gladstone, Yoni's mother and founder of the foundation, and Sarah David, executive director of the foundation, are here to talk about what we are doing this week, acts of kindness, and to ensure that you get involved, not just in the great volunteering you are doing, but now also to log your hours and be rewarded. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, Yoni Jesner's brilliant mum, Marsha Gladstone, and Chief Executive, Sarah David.
Thank you.
Good evening, Marsha and Sarah. How are you both? How has lockdown been treating you, and how have you been keeping positive?
Well, lockdown actually has been pretty good for me. I decided at the very beginning that I was going to make it a positive time, and that I had a few goals that I wanted to reach. So I decided to make a list, first of all the people I know who are living alone, whether they're in Glasgow or London, and to make sure that I phone them regularly. So that takes quite a lot of time, actually, believe it or not, having these conversations with people who I would have been bumping into if I were still living in Glasgow, or seeing in show here, perhaps here in London. So people really, really appreciate that phone call. It makes a massive, massive difference. So that is one thing I've been doing. And I've also been teaching reading, helping with my grandchildren, and also listening to them and how they're feeling about not being able to go to school for March, April, May, and some of June. Some of them started going back in June, particularly one of them who wasn't allowed to finish year 6, but he did go back for a few weeks now, the last few weeks, but letting them vent about how they felt about missing school and not seeing their friends. And even my 3-year-old granddaughter, giving her time, because we don't even think of these tiny tots who, really miss seeing their friends. And now she says to me, "Oh, Grandma, today she said, I really want to touch you, but I know I can't till after COVID." And I feel so sorry for it. Really, it's difficult, but I think it's been important. And I'm sure there's lots of grandparents, and of course as parents, so many parents are just trying to acknowledge how difficult it is for their kids at all ages right through. It's just been so difficult. And I know that in time to come, in fact, I was saying this to my 11-year-old grandson today, or he was saying to me, because it was his last day of year 6, he was saying, I know that my grandchildren are going to ask me what happened and how we coped. So, and I'm keeping a diary so that I'll be able to read to them what I was doing. And he said, and I'm sure that things that I think are cool, really cool now, are going to be so old fashioned, and they're going to laugh at me in 50 years time when I'm telling them what happened. So it's amazing. We all know now that there's so many dreadful things that happened, but there's so many wonderful things that have come out of COVID, so it's been a very meaningful time for me. And I've in the middle of reading a huge book in Ivrit. I've absolutely promised myself that I will only read, not only read in Ivrit, but that book I'm reading in Ivrit. So that's a goal. And I'm on page 350 of 600 pages. So, I've set myself some goals, and I've lost a bit of weight. I'm trying to keep fit. So that's what, I've been doing over the last weeks. And I'm sure Sarah has had a completely different COVID time. She has been on her own with 3 kids, and she deserves a medal.
So I have had a very different experience of lockdown and Corona. I have 3 kids at home who are all being homeschooled and also working. But a bit like Marsha, I'm very grateful. I have a job where I get to help other people all the time. And speaking to Marsha about my job weekly and what we can do has helped me really have a positive experience of Corona. I spent a lot of this time giving back, which is like, whether that's to my kids or to my grandmother or to a woman who lives next door to my mum, who I know has been alone for a while. Just kind of that checking in, how you doing, it's kept me feeling grateful for what I have that other people don't have at this time. And yes, it's busy and it's hectic, and I'm currently hiding in my bedroom because there are 3 kids around, but there's been a lot of positives for me that's come out of Corona, and I've had a good time so far.
It's a quite sort of contrasting experiences, but both seem to be positive.
Yeah, I think so. Marsha?
Yeah, we're very lucky, and I think we've had a lot of chats. And one day Sarah came and we sat in the garden and had a meeting as well, which was a real treat. Yeah, it's been really good. In fact, I've gone to sit, there's one lady in particular, an elderly lady who's really can't see anybody because she's got very low immunity. And so I've been going every week and going around the side and into her garden and sitting in a particular spot that she sets out for me, and been sitting and talking to her. And I think we all must so appreciate when you actually see a real person. It's so exciting, and it's something really, really, really special. That I think that just talking about us, we've gotten a lot out of the lockdown. So we're very fortunate, and thank God our families have kept well.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate in that way too. Yeah.
So our next question was going to be about acts of kindness. We're all about acts of kindness here at JLGB. You will have seen the segment before. And we usually ask our guests what they've been doing to help others, but that seemed to be such an important part of your lockdown that you'd mentioned it already. Is there any other sort of particular acts of kindness you've done?
I think it gives you a real feeling that you've achieved something. You can't go out and do, and actually I realize I'm not going out and wasting a lot of time and wasting money on these buying things that I don't need, or traveling back and forward and doing things that I don't really need to do. And I'm doing more important things like that, really making this list I have, and I look at and make sure if there's anybody I haven't spoken to in a while, and a more concentrated effort. And it really is something I feel very, very strongly about, actually, is that everything that you do, it just makes you feel brilliant. Don't you think, Sarah, when you're sorting something out, like even doing this week and getting together all the speakers and everything, and I know in JLGB you've been doing this for weeks, it's such a great feeling when you're doing something and other people are going to benefit from it.
I think it changes. I think when I first joined the foundation, there was very much a feeling of giving does good things for you. We would speak about it. We speak about it to our children, the kids that are doing the awards, and we speak about it when we're trying to decide things to do within the foundation. And it's true. I realized over Corona that it's very much true. When you give, you really get back, and you really, it feeds your soul in a very different way than just taking. And there's definitely an aphorism that Yoni has about that you get more out of giving, and it's very true. I've definitely seen that.
I have to say personally, so Marsha, what you said about sort of it feeling like you're not wasting your time. So my lockdown, so I was supposed to be doing A-level exams, and I've sort of, those were cancelled, and I sort of went, okay, so what do I do with my time? And I've slightly thrown myself into volunteering. And actually, I'd far rather be doing that than A-levels, and I think that's a far better use of my time. So I can see that definitely.
So maybe as you go through your life, because you will have to do A-levels and you will have to go to uni, and you'll make a career for yourself in some way, but maybe from now on, always parallel to that, you'll have a part of your life that is doing this, that will always be feeding your soul, as Sarah said, and helping other people in some way.
No, it's kind of, I've now got to work on making that an everyday part of my life. But it's been nice to let that slightly take over.
You can just go into charity work. That's what you need to do. I can tell you on the side.
And I wonder, which makes me think, because you were going to ask me about Yoni, I think, but it makes me wonder, what would Yoni have been doing during lockdown? I wonder what he would have done without his schoolwork, because he was doing so much stuff. And he would be doing, I'm sure, like you're doing, he would have found something really worthwhile and be volunteering and making a difference to so many people's lives instead of just watching TV all the time.
I managed to fit plenty of that into.
Multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. You set up for those who don't know, you set up the Yoni Jesner Foundation in memory of your son Yoni. Could you, if you don't mind, could you tell us a bit about him, his life, how he inspired others?
Yeah, well, from a young age, Yoni somehow had this feeling that he wanted to help people and he wanted to be involved. He was the youngest of my 4 older children, and he was always the first one in shul on a Shabbat morning, and he would make sure, don't worry about the phone, sorry if you can hear it, it's not for me. And he would always make sure that his older brothers and sister would get to shul not too late. And then from shul, he would always make sure that they went to visit their grandpa. They had an elderly grandpa who lived alone. And it was before bar mitzvah age, so he was quite young. And being the youngest of the 4, it was just something that was in him. And I've always felt that he was like a synthesis of his 2 grandpas, because he had one grandpa, the elderly one who lived alone actually, who was like one of the mainstays of the Glasgow community. He brought the kollel to Glasgow and he helped to build the first mikvah and he helped to run the shul and he was doing all sorts of things. That was my father-in-law. And my own father was a doctor. He studied to be a doctor and he was very kind and caring and everybody used to come to him with their problems. He was also involved in the shul, so that it was his personality. So I always felt that Yoni wanted to study medicine. So he was a combination of somebody who really cared about the community, but also cared about, on an individual basis, about helping people. And just everybody just thought they were his best friend. He had this knack and this charm, this quality, where even from a little 5 and 6 year old in shul, the rabbi's son, who was really tiny, he was 5, like Yoni was his best friend. And there was another boy who's now married today, who was a little bit older, but he was still very little. He was maybe about 8 or 9, and his family was going through a difficult time. And he also felt that Yoni was his best friend. And, and I found later after Yoni had died, that so many people felt that he was their best friend. And not just in Jewish circles, but in school. He went to a non-Jewish school. And although he took the Jewish assembly in school and he wore a kippah to school, so everybody knew he was a Jewish boy, but he had really good friends of all ages and all backgrounds and all religions. And he really somehow had this natural caring for people. And he was busy morning to night helping people. He would tutor people, either school subjects or religious things. And he would have people come in the door and they'd disappear into his bedroom and they would be discussing religious things with them and maybe, helping them understand why he lived this way of life or whatever. And he actually, which nothing to do with me, he was the youngest volunteer in the Glasgow Chevra Kadisha, which is the Jewish Burial Society. And that really is amazing. And I mean, I don't think I knew about that he was doing that until he wrote an article about it and I saw it in the paper, trying to encourage other people to do it. So it was just another thing. To do that to 18 years old is very, very unusual to do that. But he somehow decided that that's what he wanted to do. So he used to help out in shul services. He taught himself to learn every parsha in the Torah and Echa and all the the what do you call as well? Not just the every week.
The Megillot.
The Megillot, that's right. So he was a really great help, and he was Rosh B'nai Akiva, and he had this weird way of getting the kids to calm down and quieten down. He never raised his voice. They told me afterwards, because I didn't know, obviously, I was never in the B'nai Akiva meetings. He used to just stand in the middle of the circle doing his taekwondo kicks and stances, and he would just wait, and then everybody gradually would just quieten down, and then he would just take the meeting. But he was really nutty. I mean, I saw him once at a Shabbaton in Shul doing a Sudash Shlishit, and he would just race round the room, round and round and round, doing silly games or dress up and do, he was just crazy. And you wouldn't realize that inside this fun, zany person was somebody who actually was really aware of everything that they were doing and why they were doing it, and gave up everything. He was doing his best. So he was just a mixture of so many different things.
Sounds amazing. So I'm sorry, I'm slightly speechless. But this week we've been really honored to partner with your foundation, celebrating the Yoni Jesner Award and providing an opportunity for participants to log hours towards it has been a real privilege. So you've sort of mentioned a little so far, but why was it really important to set up the awards in his memory?
Well, the thing that really struck us after he was killed, B'nai Akiva actually got together and they gave an ambulance to Magen David Adom in Israel, which was an enormous thing to do. And we had already been thinking during the weeks after Yoni had died that we must find a way to follow in Yoni's footsteps, or to keep his energy in the world. And at the dedication ceremony for this ambulance, his cousin Gideon, who had been with him on the bus that day, they were closest friends. They were first cousins, but they were really like brothers. He spoke and he said, Yoni has handed us his baton like you do in a relay race. And it's now up to us to carry that forward, because he can't do that. And that just really made me so determined that I was going to create something, or we were going to create something, the family, that would carry on all the good deeds that Yoni would not be here to do. So I went to one or two schools and got some advice, and eventually we started actually in Emmanuel College was the first place that we started the awards, and nothing was online. It was all written on little cards, what everybody did in their hours in those days. And then it evolved. That teacher went to UGIA and it rolled out in all the Jewish schools. And we really wanted to feel, and we do feel, that all these children who are doing all these amazing things every year, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, well, thousands of hours of volunteering, that it makes me feel that is really what Yoni was about. And it does keep him alive. It keeps his memory alive, and it keeps his energy still going in this world, because we're all doing it in memory of him. And I feel sure that wherever he is in heaven, that he feels there's something that he's feeling that he knows is a really positive thing that's happening here.
You talked about before sort of how much could Yoni have done if he hadn't had school and if he was around in lockdown now. But actually almost sort of creating this charity out of Yoni has allowed you to harness the so many hundreds of kids that are now in lockdown with all that time.
That's right. That's right. And it's a great way. It's a great way for kids to find a path where they're getting out of themselves, because it's hard to even know what to do and how to do it. And for everything they do, no matter how small it is, that they should get an award, or they should get 15 minutes towards their award, half an hour, they'll build it up to another hour. And that really means something. I think it's really important for all the young people who are doing this work that they should know that how much it's appreciated. That when they phone somebody and see how they are and give them a chat on the phone, whatever they can do now, even when they're helping their brothers and sisters and being extra kind at home and all these things that you're doing, all these things make such a difference, but they don't just make a difference to the people you're helping. It really builds you into a very special, strong and resilient kind of person.
That's really amazing. So sort of speaking of how people have been affected by the charity, we've got a few questions from the audience, many of whom have been involved in sort of volunteering with the Yoni Jesner Award. So we start with Sergeant Sydney, I think. Is she there?
Hi.
Hi, dear.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on the show tonight. We've really appreciated it. It's amazing to listen to both of you. So my question is, why was giving to others and helping those in need so important to Yoni?
You would have to ask Yoni that. I would say because it was something that somehow I can imagine. So I'm trying to put myself into his shoes at that time, where we were busy in a house with four children at that time, because my little one hadn't come along yet. And I was just running the house and everybody was doing their own thing. And this was, Yoni was constantly doing these things that I told you about. And when you asked me why did he want to do these things, I think it was something inbuilt in his character that I was saying before about his two grandparents. And I think that sometimes he might not have rationally sat down and said, yes, you know, I really would like to, you know, help this one or help that one because of A, B, or C. He just had this feeling that that's what he wanted to do and he was going to do it. And it was just a natural thing for him. Before he could drive, he was out riding his bike, going to shul, going to help somebody learn their bar mitzvah, going to visit people, whatever he was doing. And I remember recently, I might have said this at the beginning in March, I'm not sure, but years after Yoni had died, somebody told me that one of my neighbours in Glasgow, when I went back to visit, said, you know, I want you to know that one day I found Yoni wandering around outside your block of flats. And I said to him, what are you doing here? And he said, actually, I'm just waiting for the postman, because I know that he's always so tired by the time he gets here. And if I just take all the letters from him, I know who everybody is and I'll just stick it in their post boxes, and it just makes it so easy for him. So, I mean, you know, I never knew he was doing that. And I don't know what had made him feel that, but it was just a feeling within himself that he wanted to help and he wanted to be involved. And he was very, you know, somehow touched deeply by the other people who needed. He could tell he had that kind of a feeling for what was needed, and he wanted to be the one to do it.
Thank you. That's incredible and really inspirational. Thank you very much for sharing that.
It's something in your heart, isn't it? Sometimes you can't, it's not something that you can put into words. It's just the way you are. And I think that a lot of the, like all you leaders of JLGB and what you do, I think that's just the way that you are as well, because you've got something in your heart that is wanting to really be part of making people's lives better. And you all feel that. It's a similar thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got Emma next.
Hi, I hope you're both well. So over the last 4 months, whilst in lockdown, JLGB Virtual has been boosting positivity and encouraging us all to do acts of kindness for each other. So is there anything that you've been impressed by the young people during this time, and anything that stood out to you most?
What do you think, Sarah? What would you say about that?
Well, I think I probably had more interaction with that than Marsha has, and I've been blown away. I have to say that from the beginning, I mean, if you looked at the world anyway, not just our participants, but if you looked at youngsters across the world and people across the world, people were just desperate to do good and to help others. And I saw it straight away at the beginning. We would post opportunities, things that people needed. So either at the beginning, the NHS needed packs with like hand cream and deodorant. They weren't being able to get to shops, and by the time they did get there was nothing there. And as soon as we posted it, we had responses from people saying, yeah, we'll send you stuff, and where do you need it to be dropped off to. As soon as we asked kids to write letters to residents in care homes over Pesach, so that they would have, you know, some interaction, we got people straight away. It was quite shocking to me. And then children who were doing our awards just started doing fundraising things for different charities off their own back, making things, selling things. There's a little girl in year 7 who started selling face masks and all different patterns. She's been doing it for a couple of months now, and a percentage goes to the NHS, like to help people who work for the NHS. A girl was doing a bake sale for Jewish Care. I mean, there is just so much. We've been absolutely overwhelmed. I've been very, very humbled by how much people are happy to give of their time, especially during a difficult time like this. But it seems to be that people want to, and that to me is really special, more so than whether you get to log an hour for it or you don't get to log it. The fact that you want to, that's what you want to spend your time doing, to me means that we're doing something right here, that we're teaching our kids right here. So that for me is great.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. Thank you.
Okay.
And next we've got a question from Talia. Is she there?
Hi, sorry. Hello. How are you both? Are you okay?
Yes, thank you.
Good. So in Yoni's backpack, he had a book with 50 aphorisms, I hope I said that correctly, that he lived his life by. Which of these do you think have helped you personally during this time? And which ones do you think can inspire us for the future?
Oh my gosh.
I can go first. Would you like me to go first? Because I've already thought about this.
Sure.
So I happen to be, just to give you a little bit of background, I knew of Yoni growing up, and I remember very clearly when he passed away, because he was a good friend of mine's first cousin. So when he passed away, the aphorisms were kind of hung up in the sixth form room at school, and we all had copies that we used to have. So I know them quite well, because actually they helped me through a lot of my teenage years, because for someone who passed away when he was still a teenager, he was quite wise for his times. So I would say that the one that's probably I thought about the most during lockdown is the one where he says, you know, if you give me 2 seconds, I actually have it. 1 second. Okay, so there's one where he says, if you find it difficult to motivate yourself to do something useful, then ask yourself the following questions. At the end of the week, what will I have achieved? What will I have accomplished? Will I have watched TV, or will I have watched my actions? Will I have changed my hairstyle, or will I have changed someone's life? Will I have shared gossip, or will I have shared knowledge? And will I have spent money on my children or spent time with them? And I think that it was so easy to fall into a lazy lifestyle in lockdown. You know, days were just kind of blending into one, and weeks blending into one. I know we all feel that, like, oh, it's Thursday. What? I thought it was Tuesday, that kind of thing. And I was very conscious to keep bringing myself back. Like, I'm never going to have this time back again. And I don't want to look back on it and think that I didn't do anything to better myself or my children's lives or someone else's lives. And right at the beginning, I signed up as an NHS volunteer responder. And I really enjoyed being able to just pop to the pharmacy and pick something up for an old man and drop it at his house. And that was helping someone immeasurably, but was a 10-minute thing out of my day. And Yoni's aphorism is right. Like, you can live your life and be fine, but when it's done, will you look back and think, oh, well, I'm really proud of what I achieved. Actually, I helped people, and or am I going to have gone on loads of really nice holidays and had lots of nice jewelry? Really, what is worth more? So I think that's something that I definitely held on to during Corona. But in general, there's one that he says that I live my life by, and it's a silly one. And he says, don't be scared to get up and dance, like you'll get the hang of it. And he's right. And I don't think he was talking really about dancing. I just think he means like, go for it. If there's something you want to do, or there's someone you want to help, or there's something you want to say, don't be scared, just do it. And it has never gone wrong for me ever. So I kind of like just stick with that one forever.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a great thing to live your life by.
Just dance all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple as well. I mean, there's so many. There's one that I really think is important, and I think that during the lockdown and during this time, it's really, really relevant. It's the one that says everyone is waiting for something to happen, whether it's going on holiday or your wedding or whatever, but this is as good as it gets. And I think that that is really something that so many people have realized now, that just take each day and appreciate what you have each day, and realize what are all the wonderful things that you have every day of your life, and how lucky we are, and enjoy now, because this is really all you have is today anyway. By tomorrow, it's going to be today. You don't actually have tomorrow, and you don't have yesterday, because yesterday's past. We only ever have today, and this is as good as it gets. And I just love that one. And the other one is, he says, go to people where they are, not where you want them to be. So don't listen to somebody thinking, oh, why are they doing that, or why are they thinking that, when, you know, I would do it differently, or I think differently. I try and understand, with them being who they are, it helps you understand why they're saying what they are, behaving the way they behave. You can understand them much more if you take their whole picture into consideration, and not just expect everybody to be like you and think like you. So these are...
I love that aphorism, Marsha. It's so true. We kind of, I feel like, especially like I see it with my kids, they kind of have this expectation that people will kind of be how they expect them to be. And as adults, we do that too. We go to people with expectation of how they should behave or how they should be, and often get disappointed when it doesn't turn out like that. So Yoni was very right.
Even when you're bringing up children, like you are, to try and put yourself in that person's position.
Yeah.
You know, so if they're not feeling like doing something, or they don't want to do something, you know, within reason, but to try and understand or put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Yeah. That's really what it's about empathy. And it's an amazing quality. Every time I look at the list of Yoni's aphorisms, I find something else. Yeah. 6 at the beginning, there was 50 odds, and then we found another 16. So altogether, there's 66 aphorisms. Yeah, I think we'll always continue to find more and more things in them.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking questions, Oliver.
I must admit, I've just brought them up in the background because it sounded really interesting. I think my favorite one is one that I've slightly learned the hard way. If you can't improvise, then don't even think about working with kids. That's definitely something I've had to learn to do.
Yeah, or being a primary school teacher, or probably even a secondary school teacher as well.
Or a parent.
Yeah. Yeah, life is full of unexpected things. That's so true.
So next, we've got a question from Louis. Yeah.
Hi there. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Marsha.
Hi.
I should say more Marsha. You taught me Ivrit in Calderwood Lodge for probably 4 or 5 years. Probably testing your memory a bit.
Oh, wow. No. I remember it very clearly.
Hopefully I was a good pupil. I wasn't
You
well.
were lovely. You were lovely.
Great. My question is, obviously for JLGB members and Yoni Jesner award participants alike, volunteering is obviously at the heart of what we do. It's in our DNA. And obviously during coronavirus and lockdown, the way we volunteer has changed dramatically. And it's really put us in a tricky position. What is the future like for volunteering as we come out of lockdown and as the restrictions are easing on how we interact with others? What is the future, and why is it a good time to start now as we get out of lockdown?
Oh, well, maybe I'll say a little bit and then you also, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think that it's a perfect time to build on all the fantastic work that we've seen that's been done, all the volunteering that's been done, in the whole country. So it's a huge change, and everybody has this awareness of people helping and people doing more than they've ever done before. And to me, there has been no time that is so perfect, and for volunteering to be so up there and with great dignity and great meaning and so important and something that you want to be associated with. There's been no time better than now. Would you agree with that, Sarah?
Oh, I would 100% agree. I think that the opportunity to help and give back, especially coming out like where we're at right now and coming out of lockdown, it's immense because the need is there. The need is greater, I'd say, than it was beforehand. And whilst the old way of volunteering, you know, being able to go into a care home and visit, etc., may not be there anymore, there are the volunteering opportunities are everywhere. Any charity that deals with people have so many opportunities. You can go onto any kind of care homes, mental health organizations, and they all have volunteering opportunities that they run, which are socially distant and specific things that they need. And I think the one thing to really keep in mind, and that I'm trying to remind our children that are doing the awards, is that actually now coming out of lockdown, now's the time that you're needed, because there are still people who are still vulnerable, that still have needs, and actually we have slightly more freedom now. So my view on it is, and what I've been saying to, you know, the Yoni Jesner Award participants, is that it's more important now than ever. So the question isn't really why now, but you know, it always was, but now it's really important. People really have need, and some of the, especially in care homes, and I've been speaking to different care homes in the community, some of their residents haven't seen people in a long time, and they still really aren't going to be seeing people for a long time. So it's, in my mind, it's easy. And if there's anyone that's watching that's interested, you can go onto the Yoni Jesner Foundation page and you can click on our contact to contact us, and you can either drop me a message, you can send me an email, give me a ring. We have so many things that you can do, so many different opportunities that you can do, and we can help you through it as well, so you won't feel like you're doing it alone. We're here to help you do that. But yeah, I'd say that now is very much the time for us to be helping people.
Want to give one or two examples, Sarah, of what somebody might do?
So, for example, at care homes, there are lots of old people there. We need buddies for people in care homes to write letters, to make phone calls, you know, even just to read the newspaper. A lot of people in these care homes, they can't read properly because their eyesight isn't good enough. And even just to have someone read them a book on the phone, it's that human connection. If you can think about how it was for you not to see your friends for a few months, but you were still seeing your mum and your dad and your siblings, well, imagine that, but without the siblings and the parents. So just having someone call and say, hi, I'm just calling because it's Friday and I wanted to see how you were doing, and sit and read a chapter of a book to them, and then listen to them talk and say, have a lovely weekend, would change that person's weekend substantially. So there's things like that. And then we also have partners like Gift, for example. We know a lot of our award participants have been packing with their families or not with their families in the warehouses, and making sure that the people who are vulnerable in the community who can't go and get their food are still having all their food collected, etc. That's really important. I think that the way that I see volunteering now is potentially there are less opportunities in a way that we used to be used to them. Like you could go out and do your volunteering, but there are lots of volunteering opportunities that you can still do, which are socially distanced. And everything that we put out on our social media and through our marketing is all like socially distanced, and will all be stuff that you can do. So if you keep an eye out, or you want to follow us, we post things almost every day. So you should be able to find something.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you've mentioned it a bit, but these are unprecedented times, and the physical, mental health, and economic impacts have affected us a lot and will affect us all for some time to come. But do you have any hope for the future? Do you think there's any real positives that might come out of this strange time?
I think that what Sarah was saying is that there's a huge amount of I don't know how to put it into words, the pleasure that people have really experienced through their volunteering and helping. And I think that that is going to carry on. People are not just going to suddenly drop it and forget they ever did it, which means that I think that even our kids who do the Yoni Jesner Award, they will have seen so many older people, maybe their parents and maybe their aunties and uncles who've been involved as well. And it makes it so much more a part of what's expected of them, because so many more people are doing it. So I feel that is a big positive that has come out of this. And just this feeling of caring, because we've got a huge awareness that while our lives are okay, there are so many people who have lost somebody, and we know that, or who have somebody who's ill or been ill, and we know that, or who have suffered because they can't afford the things they used to be able to afford, or that nobody can go away on a summer holiday now. And there's so many things that you can do to cheer people up, to get together with, you know, to help, even over the phone or Zoom, or a few people together and cheer people up and do things to help. And I think that there's a lot of that going on. And I think it's really, really important. This feeling that we're all going through this, that every single person in the world is going through this, is a tremendously strengthening feeling, a strengthening thing for this feeling of connectivity that we have, where we're connected. We're all connected in this way. And it may be, they say that since the last World War, there's never been a time. And it's just as terrible, but it is one of the things that comes out of these terrible times, is this feeling that you're connected, and the feeling of how important it is, and how important what you do is. As Yoni used to really feel every little thing matters, whatever you can do to brighten somebody's life. You know, so if you're thinking that you might be a bit shy to make a phone call to somebody you don't know, and to somebody who's been cut off from anybody, just think about how amazing they will feel, how wonderful to hear this young person's voice saying, you know, I just wanted to say hello, and I've got the Jewish news here, and I'm going to read you 1 or 2 articles if you'd like, or I can read you a chapter every week from a book that I have here. And you don't need to worry about what you're saying. You can just make a difference to their lives, not forgetting your own grandmas and grandpas. You know, so we've all, as younger people, you've all got a lot that you can do.
So it's really interesting that you mentioned sort of the people on the phone just sort of enjoying that contact. Because one of the things I did when I volunteered was like picking up prescriptions for people, and I'd call them up and sort of just ask for details, ask for an address, and they'd speak for like a good 10-15 minutes, like nattering on. And I realized actually how important it was to be chatting to them, and how important it was for them to have that contact.
Yeah, if you can imagine, you know, we think the elderly, but you who are 18 and kids who are 10, 11, 12, everybody's going to be elderly one day. And all these people were young, and they've all had fascinating lives, and you can learn so much from chatting to somebody like that. But that, you know, they're just people like us, and how much they need the contact. You might have seen this amazing video. It's happened in Israel and in one other country, maybe Germany, where they've taken people on, you know, the machines that somebody uses if they're changing the bulbs in a lamppost, the machine that lifts the man up really, really high. They're lifting people up on these high platforms and taking them to the windows of people in old age homes so that they can see their family. They'll take somebody's daughter or son, and I've seen a video of it. And it just brings home to you how desperately important it is, contact, to just be in contact, and how much we can all do to change somebody's life.
No, that's really important.
Yeah.
So before the next question, I've been told to kind of plug the sign up link for the Yoni Jesner Award is jlgb.org/Yoni Jesner. So I will move on to the big question. Why should all the young people...
We had a lot of big questions so far.
Why should all the young people watching tonight go follow that link, sign up for the Yoni Jesner Award? Why is it so important?
Well, it's just going to change your life. If you have never done anything like that before, you're just going to feel a complete feeling that you're an angel because you've done something wonderful. And you will get that feeling when the person that you phone or the person that you help or whatever you do, when you can see immediately and feel immediately from them how grateful they are. And you just feel so good that you've done it. And even if, you know, there's so many different ways that you can volunteer, you can raise money for charity, you can do a cake bake, there's still loads of things you can do just now like people used to do, if you're very careful, I think, and help with gift for sure. And it's just it gives you a natural high. It absolutely does. And then you can be a bit selfish and you can do your own thing and have fun with your friends, but you've given something from yourself and it changes you.
And I think you learn something about yourself, and you learn skills as well, helping other people. I found that helping and talking to people, I've learned stuff that I had no idea about before. There's my mum's next door neighbour, who I now speak to regularly, has taught me so much about South African history that I had no idea about before, and it's helped me change as a person as well. You get a lot back from giving, not just feeling good, but you can gain so much. It changes your life.
It's interesting how you sort of we always hear about like volunteering to help other people, and you guys seem to really push it as something which helps other people and is a kind of big self-improvement thing.
There's no question about it. There's no question about it that people who help other people, they get a high from doing it. You get that one, you learn so much from other people not of your age, not maybe in your social setup, people who you would otherwise never have come into contact with, and they have so much to teach you about who they are, their lives. It's just amazing, and it's fantastic.
I don't think I felt as strongly about this before I joined the foundation as I do now. I think before I joined and I started working, once I started working with Marsha, and I started kind of, you get that, how Marsha said before about how when Gideon, Yoni's cousin, stood up and said that he feels we need to pass this baton on, I feel like I want my kids to have that feeling too. I want them to learn through giving. I want them to grow through giving. I want them to feel good through giving, because actually that's the real way to grow and learn and feel good. When it's coming from giving, you get so much back. And I don't think I realized that until, one thing I've realized about working at the foundation is that the foundation stands for do more, care more, because they really believe in that. We wanted to do this week to give back to the kids that we asked to give so much from, and say, you know, we know it's hard for you too, and we know this has been tough for you too, so here's a dance class, and here's a way to look after your skin, and here's a way to exercise and feel good. Because as a foundation, we do believe in that giving, it changes your life. It really does.
So looking to the future, what's next for you both, and what's the future for the Yoni Jesner Foundation?
Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to be doing a lot more as the kids go back to school. So we are going to be changing all the time what we're doing according to the needs of each school and how they want us to be if we'll be going into the schools, and how we're going to be bringing the volunteering opportunities clearly into the new children's lives, the new ones who will be joining us this year. We'll have another, hundreds and hundreds of kids doing it, and we will also have the children who started this year and who'll be carrying it on next year. So it's going to be a really, really busy year at the foundation. And another thing, incidentally, that we haven't spoken about at all, but we will be doing some of, and that is to do with organ donation. Because one of Yoni's, we donated Yoni's organs, right, to 5 different people, one of whom is a Palestinian girl. And that was a big story at the time. Now that we're doing organ donation is changing now, so that everybody is expecting to donate their organs unless they opt out. And we're going to be talking about how, Jewish people, how they should be feeling about it, which is really positive. And we're going to be helping an understanding of that. So we're going to be going forward with all the things Sarah was talking about. And we're going to be adding on this new aspect as well. And I'm sure if you speak to us in a few months' time, there'll be loads of new things, because it just changes all the time, and we have to be able to respond to all the new situations that come up. That is one thing that Corona has taught us, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Marsha and Sarah, for joining us this evening and for truly, truly inspirational conversation.
Thank you. All the questions have been amazing, and you all work so hard to make it really, really marvelous. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
What you put on.
We're really proud to be partnered with such an incredible organization that does so much to help so many people and spreads Yoni's message of social action and love to young people around the country. So from all of us at JLGB, thank you so much for your continued support. We're so excited to continue this Yoni Jesner Award Week with you and continue getting more young people volunteering throughout our schools, JLGB members, and our many partner organizations across the Jewish community. Good luck and stay positive for us all during these trying times. Stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
And that's it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in this evening and yet again being part of history. A quick reminder that we're looking for everyone to get involved. If you have a special skill and would like to teach it on JLGB Virtual, please email virtual@jlgb.org to get involved. And to sign up to take part in the Yoni Jesner Award today, go to www.jlgb.org/Yoni Jesner. I think we've put that in the chat as well. And we will be back on tomorrow. Until then, keep well and good night.